Hey everyone, Zach here, and welcome to the 70-second lesson of this RTS tutorial series. In this video, we will start taking care of sending our units to buildings to reduce their fatigue or hunger. This will be a three-part subsection, and in this part we'll take care of locating the unit, so seeing if it's in a building or not, moving to a building, and exiting a building. In the next video, we'll take care of the specifics of reducing their fatigue or reducing their hunger when they're in the correct building. And we'll take care of a little bit of cleanup around what happens when we send them to the building in general and we have them exit buildings, because there's a bit of extra steps we have to put in with our behavior tree and our current setup. And in the third video, we will take care of any cleanup from the first two videos and addressing specific units such as the engineer unit, which will try to repair any building it enters instead of going to sleep or eating. That said, fire up your editors and let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the editor. As I mentioned in the intro card, this will be a three-part video that we have to do. And in this first video, our task is to get the unit from its current location to its residence. So this means finding out, is it outside, is it in a non-residential building, and then moving them from where they're at to a residence. In the second video, which comes out Friday, we'll take care of what happens when they're in the residence. And in the third video, we'll take care of certain issues we're going to run into, in particular with this unit here, our engineer unit, because when they enter a building, they typically are on a job, so we want to make sure that it doesn't fire off, start repairing a building, because there won't be a valid target for it to do that with. Alright, so that said, our first step is we need to set up a couple of things. The first thing we need to set up is a new enum for a current location check that we're going to do. So in this enum, what we're going to have is a three values. So let's go to our enums. Now we could use our building names and have multiple values, but it's just easier with three. So we only care about three different conditions really. So we're going to be creating a new enum, and this will be location check enum. And as I mentioned, we're going to want three values in here. The first one will be residence. The second one, and the reason why we're just not using the building names one, primarily, the third one also shows this, will be non-residence. This is multiple buildings already. And the third one, which we don't really have a reference for in our building types, unless you count that blank one at the start, is outside. And we'll save that. The next part of our setup is we need to go to our AI folder. Let's go to our Blackboard player unit and add a new key in. This key will be an object, and it will be current location. All right, let's save everything. Now let's pop open our Blackboard, our behavior tree, and I'm going to change up what I had in here originally. I'm not a huge fan of this anymore. Oh, also in that third video, besides the issue with the engineer unit, as I mentioned, there's going to be a bit of a stutter, so we're going to try to resolve that stutter in the third video. All right, so what we're going to have here is a sequence node, just a simple sequence. And off this sequence, we're going to have a new decorator. So let's create that new decorator, and let's go back to our main window. Let's just rename this real quick, and this will be BTD for behavior tree decorator. Remember, a decorator is just basically a flow control statement. And this will be check location. We're going to create a new folder. Decorators. God only knows I just probably spelled that wrong because I'm not paying attention to my spelling. All right, let's just save everything real quick. And in here, what we're going to do is we are going to have a new override in our function. And it will be our perform condition check AI. So we'll put that in there. We're going to break this. We're going to have three return nodes off of this. The first thing we need to do is we need to cast to our unit. So let's make a reference. Actually, let's just make this as a quick cast here. Let's save ourselves some time. So cast to RTS unit master. Let's make this a pure cast. And off of this, we will promote to variable, and this will be our unit reference. Set this to a references folder. But we want to know, is this thing already valid? We don't want to cast this multiple times. So is valid with a question mark. And we're going to plug that into the execute. If it is not valid, then we want to cast to it. That's when we want to do this. If it is valid, then we'll take care of the next step. So the next step, and we will, by the way, collapse this down to a macro in a moment or two. The next step is to actually do that check of where they're at. So we're going to create one new variable for now, and this will be our location check variable. It's actually going to go into our references. Why is there a hashtag at the end of that? Sorry about that. I did not realize I had hit enter properly. And this is going to be our location check enum. We are going to get it. We are going to switch based off of what we want to check for, because we want to use this decorator in multiple locations sometimes. So we're going to check. When I say multiple locations, I mean multiple locations in our behavior tree. So if we want to do this one, we were checking, are they at their residence, or maybe we care if they're in not in a non-residence actually. So if they're in a non-residence, we want them to exit the building. Now, we're going to kind of go around that in a second, but that is just the logic I had here originally. Put a reroute in, plug into that reroute, grab all the nodes, including the reroute, collapse to function. This function will be... sorry, I don't want to collapse this as a function. Yes, we could do it as a function, and functions tend to be better, but I prefer these as macros for some reason. And this will be our reference casts. This will be our unit. This will be down here instead. This will be our execute pin. This will be our then pin. All right, just drag this over there. Drag these this way. And now let's grab our return node. We're going to have 3 different values that go in here. We're going to have one there. One off the centerpiece here. And let me control WU. And one down here. All right. And I'm just going to be lazy and line these up. Put a reroute in here just so I have a little bit of room in a moment when I put my new function in. They'll be going at the bottom there. We do the same down here. So we're going to create 3 new pure functions, but we'll do so outside of the new functions. We'll do it in this main window. And to do this, we're going to check where they're at. We want to have a true value or a false value go into one of these, depending on which location we care about. So to do that, we need to create 2 new variables. One will be residence, and this will be a Blackboard key selector. We want to expose it, and again, Blackboard key. Yeah, that was right. Okay. And then we want also to expose our enum there. And then we want another Blackboard key, which will be our current location. And again, we want to make that exposed. We want to grab it. So we're going to get our residence. We're going to get our current location. We want to, check. We want to get the values of these as objects, because our objects we're checking. And grab another one of those. Line those all up. We want to know, are these 2 values equal to each other? If they are equal to each other, then it's true. They're in their residence. All right. We're going to copy the 4 nodes here minus the equal part, and we're going to do a not equal. We want to know, are they not in their residence? Technically, we could grab off of this, pull a not out, and plug that into there, but I just prefer doing it this way. And then for our third set, we're going to grab our current location. We are going to get the object as a value. And then we are going to check is valid without the question mark. And we want to know, is this truly not valid? Because if it's not valid, then they are not in a building. So we'll be setting our current location based on buildings. All right, with that done, grab the top 4 nodes there, 5 nodes. Collapse to function. This will be check, or is in residence. It is a pure function. We don't really need to rename the return values, but I'm going to anyway. Is in residence. Place that down there. Grab the 5 nodes here. Collapse to function. Is in building. Again, pure function. Again, we don't need to, but I'm just going to. Is in building. And then finally, collapse to function is outside. Pure is outside. All right, so that takes care of setting up this decorator. Now let's call this decorator into play, as it were. So let's go back to our behavior tree here. And on our sequence, let's add in that decorator. So we have our check location. We want to know, is this unit in a non-residence? So is in building. And building is going to be anything that isn't a residential building to me. So this will be a self here. This will be a non-residence. The residence will be set to residence, and current location will be set to current location. All right, so I'm just trying to move this over here a little bit. So what's going on is, again, we're checking ourselves. We are checking if we are in a non-residential building, with our residence being the residence key selector and our current location being our key selector here as well. We will do a force success because sequences will fail out if one of these fails. And we're going to have a couple of things coming off of here. So we're going to add another decorator, and we're going to search for force success. All right, off of here, we're going to have 2 new tasks. So let's quickly create those tasks. And this first one will be our BTT Exit Buiding. All right, let's move that to our tasks folder. And let's go into this one. And what we're going to do in here is we are going to, on our event receive execute, so receive execute AI, we are going to leave the building. So we're going to have a few things going on here. We have multiple casts that we need to do and a couple of checks as well. So I'm going to do our casts first with, let's just grab our owning controller and let's cast to our unit master AI. Let's make this a pure cast. Let's promote to a variable off of here, our AI controller ref. This is, of course, a reference. We want to know, is this valid? So, is valid with a question mark. If it is valid, then we're going to go on to another is valid check. I'm just going to move that down there. If it is not valid, then we want to cast to our unit and set it, or controller and set it, and plug that into there. All right. Next, we're going to repeat that for our unit. So, again, cast to unit master, pure cast. Let's put a reroute in there just so we have a bit of wiggle room to play with here. Where is that up there? And again, off our unit master, let's promote to variable. And this variable will be our unit reference. This will go into our references. Okay. Oh, sorry, not is valid. Into is not valid. Because we don't want to do the cast multiple times. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to get the validity of our location. So what we're going to do is we're going to set a new variable This will be our current location. This will be a Blackboard key selector. And I'm just going to put this in Blackboard key. And we're going to grab this current location. We are going to get as object. And we want to know, is this valid? So again, off this is valid, we're going to do another is valid check. And we're going to plug that into there. We're going to put a reroute here and plug that into the set pin there. And let's grab everything before the final and third is valid check. So all the reroutes and all the setters for our casting. Let's collapse this down to a macro, and this is our reference casts. And our object, let's move this around so I can see a bit better. Our object is our AI controller. So this is our AI controller. And our input pin is our unit. And this will be execute as usual and then as usual. All right, let's just move this all over back here so it's a little bit closer. We're going to collapse this down to a macro as well because we're going to have 2 execute pins coming out the end of this. What we're going to do next is we are going to check, again, is valid. We are not going to set anything off this is not valid. This is actually where the other execute pin's going to go. So we're going to save ourselves a bit of time, actually, and just set that now. Off this is not valid. We're going to do a finish execute. And we aren't going to click is successful. We're going to leave that off for now. Now, we're going to have a trouble crossing wires, but we'll take care of that in a moment. Off this get Blackboard as value as object, put a reroute in. And we want to cast to building master BP, convert to a pure cast. And we are going to then promote to a variable, and this will be our building master ref. I guess technically this is a cast, so it should be part of the reference casts, but I want this separate just so I have an idea of what they're doing. And we'll put this on the is not valid part here. Off the input object, we'll put our building master reference. All right, now next, we are going to call our building master reference here, and we are going to release single occupant. Plug the is valid into there, put a reroute into here, put our building cast into that as well, and let's get our unit reference and plug that into the unit there. All right, grab everything before the release single occupant minus the execute node here, or finish execute node. And we're going to take all of that and collapse that down to a macro. This macro will be our building casts. In my original file, I do have this as one macro. I just, for some reason, don't like it as one macro anymore. This will be execute. And we're going to switch these pins around. So the is not valid will be outside. The is valid will be is, or just be in building. All right. Let's just make this all a little bit neater. Let's go into our building cast here and just clean this up a bit, because yikes. All right, so we're going to have some crossing pins, but it's not going to be as bad as it was a second ago. There we go. All right, so now we've done that. We release a single unit. Let's then call this a successful operation. Now, if you want to add an extra step in where you, again, double check that they've exited the building, what you can do is a current location check is not valid because they won't be in a location anymore. So if it is not valid, then it's successful. So you can have a pure check or a pure function that is pretty much the same as this one here. Are they not in a valid location? All right, so let's just save everything. Let's go back to our behavior tree here. And in our behavior tree, let's call that new task up. So we have this exit building. We're just going to rename this as, actually, we're going to rename all of these as find building, exit building. And again, because this is a sequence, we don't fail out of it. Even if they are not in a building, we want this to report success. Now, we might not want it to elsewhere. So that's why I didn't, inside the function, have it say successful when they're outside. We are going to force success. So I could avoid that by putting a force success right there. But I don't want to, just because I might want to use this for other things. All right, again, just want to move this up here a little bit. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to then move to the building. So we're going to create the other new task I mentioned. So there we go. Let's go back here. And this will be our BTT move to location. All right, let's move this into our tasks folder here. Let's go back into this blueprint. And this one is going to be a bit complex. So what we are going to do is we are going to receive the input command, just like we did a moment ago. So receive execute AI. We don't need the controller this time, fortunately. We just need our unit. So we're going to go from our unit to a unit master cast. This will again be a pure cast. We will promote to variable. This will be our unit reference. If our unit reference is valid, then we don't want to cast to it. Question mark 1. If it is not valid, then we want to cast to it and set it. All right. There we go. So now we have that. We need to think about the utility of this particular task. Right now, we only have one location we care about, the residents. But eventually, we're going to have them move to different locations. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a check here on which location they're going to go to. And we're going to pass that argument over into a new custom event. But because we don't have anything for that set up yet, we're just going to do the custom event of set location. So eventually there'll be another pin in here that will pass through an argument. We'll have a branch here that sets what they're gonna do based on that. A little bit of polymorphism for you. So all we're gonna do then is off this is valid is set location. And we're gonna put a reroute in here, put that into there, grab all the nodes, including the reroute, and collapse to macro. This is our reference cast. I'm not sure why I made the other one that was singular casts, plural, but whoops. Execute unit, and then all as usual. Move that there, move that there. So in our set location, what we are going to do here, and this is just, again, remember, we're skipping some things we're going to have later on, but we're going to do what we need to take care of in this video. We are going to first put this in a category, actually. So in here, what we're going to have is a residence reference here, and again, this will be a Blackboard key selector, and this will be a Blackboard key. So we're going to get our residence. We want to get this as an object. We want to know, is this valid? If it is not valid, well, something's gone wrong earlier in our tree. Actually, that's not true. Yeah, no, this is residence. If this is not valid, then something has gone wrong in our tree because there should be a building. This might mean the building's been destroyed or something, which does happen, and the service check at the top here should make them, should trigger the find building. All right, so is this valid? And I really do hope it is valid, otherwise there is something wrong. But again, it's a good check. We don't want any null pointers causing a crash. If it is not valid, we are going to finish execute without success. All right. Put a reroute pin into here. If it is valid, then we are going to cast to our building master. Actually, sorry, not our building master. We're going to cast to our residential building master. We are going to convert that to a pure function. We are then going to pause for just a moment to set up one more Blackboard key. So we need another new key. And let's go back to our behavior tree to find that key real quick. Let's go to our Blackboard, and in here we are going to create a vector. This will be our target location. All right, save that real quick. Go back into your move to location. We are going to, off of this residential, you just want to get the building mesh reference here. So get building mesh. We want to get world location. And off the is valid, we are going to set, sorry, I skipped a step. We are going to create a new variable first, and this will be our target location. It's a Blackboard key. We're going to move this into our Blackboard key group there. We are going to get it. We are going to pull off of it and set value as vector. All right, plug that into the is valid. That goes into the value there. So now what's happening is we're checking, is the residence valid? If it is, cast to the building master, which is what the residence type is. Get the mesh. Get the location of that mesh and set that to our target location value. All right. That is not the right thing I'm looking for. So set target. I have the feeling this get is my setter. So let's just go in here real quick. Yeah, that's a setter, not a getter. So where is this categorized? This is in my building related. This is, yep. So let's just rename this to the correct name of set. I said that in an earlier video. I was pretty sure this was a setter, not a getter. That's a setter. So that's exactly what we're looking for there. So set target location. The unit is our target. Our building reference is the actual thing we care about there. And we could cast off of here. I'm just going to ignore doing that. And yeah, I'm just going to Control W that over here. Get rid of that reroute. Plug into there. So slightly better way to do that, as I said, would be to create a cast here where we have another is valid check and, you know, only cast once. Pass that reference through of the building reference there. All right, now that that's done, this will end up being one sort of branch on the final version of this. The ending will always be the same. It'll be to a custom event here, and the custom event will call move. Not fancy, simple. And let's call that event here. So let's move. All right, so on move, what we are going to do is we are simply going to AI move to, there we go. Our pawn is our unit reference. Our destination is our target location, except for we're now going to get as vector. All right, plug that into there. What we're going to do on the result movement is we're going to do a switch. We are going to hook this into the on fail. And even if, ironically, it succeeds, when it goes to fail, we're going to pass that up to the what we'll do on success. So on success, we are going to do, we're going to get our unit reference first. We are going to do arrive at building. Set that up. All right, plug a reroute into there. Plug that into there. And for debugging purposes, what I'm going to do is, off this top bit, print. Just put a little reroute in there. Drag back off of this, append. All right. Grab my unit reference, get it, plug that into there. So we're getting the display name. Actually, you could also just pull off and get the actual unit's name too. So let's do that. Unit name, get unit name. Hello. Plug that into there. Put a colon there, space, on the move. We're going to duplicate all of this. On the invalid, not a target. The reason why I'm doing this as with the unit there, so I know which unit is putting through this response. Again, duplicate that out. Duplicate that again. I'm just gonna, this is gonna be a bit messy, and this is purely for debugging. You can skip this step if you want. Have to stop. And then the third one we're gonna do, again, duplicate all this out here. There's no pretty way to do this, unfortunately. Is going to be cannot get there. That'll be is blocked. Now, in all of these conditions, in reality, I'm going to have one execute line with one reroute in it. Or, yeah, one execute line with a reroute in it. This will be finish, execute, not successful. And I'm just going to plug that into all of these. Again, when we're done, these will get deleted. So it'll be a little bit prettier looking. It won't be as crossed up as it is now. This is just so I know what's going on with the individual unit. So they arrive at location. I'm actually going to duplicate this one more time up here. Plug that in. And this will be arrived. Finish execute. This time it is successful. All right. So now all we need to do is we need to call this into play in our behavior tree. I'm just going to save everything real quick. And also to save ourselves some time of testing this. You don't need to do this stuff if you don't want, but I am just doing this to save time. I'm going to set the fatigue status to 0.45. All right. Next, I'm going to go into our behavior tree. In the behavior tree, I am going to pull off of this, and I am going to do our new task of find building, move to location, which I am going to rename as, there's a small problem here. And there's a small problem in exit building too, I just noticed. Let's take care of that in a second. Move to residence. All right, let's go back to this. Like I said, always make these so you can edit them. Can't believe I skipped that step. And I skipped that also in the exit building. All right. Now back to the behavior tree. On our exit building, we are going to get our current location as current location. On our move to residence or move to task, depending on if you haven't renamed it, our residence is residence. Our target location is target location. All right. Now, for the moment of truth, let's test this out. So, let's just move this over here because we're going to actually have stuff come off here in the next video. Let's see this work. So, hit play. Just going to go back into this window. And find our screen there. Just going to move it so we can see the entire thing. All right. So we're nearing 50%. Just speed that up a moment. And what we're looking for is for that. There we go. Oh, it looks like we're having a bit of an issue. Okay. So our issue is on the is in building. It's returning a false. which we should be getting anyway, but I just want to make sure I haven't made a mistake here in my setup. Our location check is non-residence. Our residence is residence, and our current location is current location. Okay. So what we are going to do is... Sorry. That should be none. Oh. So, the issue. And this is something I should have addressed ages ago. Residence here needs to be residence. Okay. Hit play. Speed this up. Go here. Grab that window again. All right. There we go. All right, it's printing a lot of information on the screen at one time. But hey, it's worked. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have, in the next video, the stop for that, because clearly it hasn't stopped, and what to do when they're in there in terms of restore health. The same setup then will be copied over, minus restore health, for our get food. And instead of restoring our, fatigue, instead of restoring fatigue, we're going to restore hunger here. So for now, we can duplicate this and plug this into, I want to move all these as one set. Oh my God. This is one part I hate about Blackboards is doing this part, or behavior trees is doing this part. There we go. All right, so that takes us through what we need to do for this video. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button down below so I know I'm bringing you content that you like. And make sure to hit the subscribe and notify icon so you know when the next tutorial is out. If you want to help this channel further, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. And I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial. And as always, I hope that you have a wonderful day.